All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm excited about this one here because our guest who hasn't been with us here in a hot skip in a minute, he has a lot going on because in
Oh,
addition to him being a CEO, of course, from our friends over at CCW, but Carnage Championship Wrestling, he is also a belt holder. He is a champion yet again, and we'll get into all of that here on Sportswire Radio, plus talk about his big match coming up here for that gold he has on his shoulder against Nate Sawyer and the Colory Championship Wrestling Christmas Carol. Plus, we'll talk about much, much more. Always love speaking with our guest here. So, wait for it. Further ado here on the Sports Report by number one global sports show, pro wrestling star here and the CEO of Carnage Championship Wrestling, the gentleman, Ronnie Thatcher. The champ is here. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, Rev. How you doing? Sorry, Rev Tom. How you doing?
Much better now after I had a zip of soda. But first of all, congratulations, and obviously you have some big developments here since you came on with us last in the past couple of months on Sportswire Radio, and also I have a few comments in already. So people don't want to hear me talk; they want to talk to you. Uncle Ralph, of course, who's always with us, says, "Good evening, gentlemen." My very good friend Anthony Finkel, it's 3 o'clock New York time here, Anthony Finkel, and he says, can I join you for a pint, Ronnie? I guess he wants a pint with you. So it's 3 o'clock in New
Uh,
York, but it's 8 o'clock your time. What are you
yeah,
drinking, by the
anytime.
way? First of all, what are you drinking?
It's called Moretti.
Okay, okay. Well,
Nice one.
you'd be.
I drink anything that's at hand. Carlin, Brewdog, vodka if I have to, whiskey. There you go.
Well, I'm probably gonna make myself look like a total idiot for saying this, but you're gonna totally chuckle. I don't drink if my life depends on it. The only thing I drink these days is a Slurpee from 7-Eleven. So I don't know much about these drinks, but it's not about the drinks. It's not about any of that. Do have some comments, so let me get to them because obviously we have
Yeah,
some
no
interesting
problem.
ones. Taylor Truth says, "Good evening." Amy says, "Roddy Lad, the one and only gentleman thug." I definitely agree. James Hughes says, "Good evening." Taylor Truth says he drinks cheap beer normally. Tonight he has a decent one. Well, I'm not going to comment on that because I wouldn't really know much of the difference between cheap and decent and maybe anything else in between. But obviously, I want to talk about Carnage Championship Wrestling because that's something that's only happened here very recently from the first time we had you on. It's definitely a big development. So, for those that are watching and listening here on Sports Wire Radio, talk about Carnage Championship Wrestling and maybe what that is and maybe the differences from Carnage Championship Wrestling versus, let's say, Colory Championship Wrestling.
Not a problem, Reverend Tom. Basically, Carnage, it's in the name. It's all about Carnage. It's all about this title. It was named after our brother that passed away, Carnage, Mr. Sean Duffy.
Yep. I remember that from the first interview. Yep.
Yep. And basically, this is the sister show to Colliery Championship Wrestling. However, this sister show packs a punch or a chair shot, table shot. You name it, it's going to happen. That's why it's over 18s only.
So you're telling us here that there's going to be a lot more violence, a lot more destruction, and certainly, maybe the biggest part, a lot more leeway for anybody that's involved in Carnage Championship Wrestling, correct?
That's absolutely correct. More mayhem, more blood, and it's in the name, more carnage.
All right, so let me ask you this question here. And I'd like to spend a few minutes on Carnage Championship Wrestling because this is obviously something new, and I did catch the last stream that you did on the Carnage Championship Wrestling group, which you can
Yeah.
find on Facebook. And does this maybe kind of fit you more? Does this give you maybe more direction in what you want to do in terms of maybe the kind of wrestler or the kind of company that you want to be a part of? I mean, give me your thoughts on that.
100%. Now, don't get me wrong. When I came in CCW, Colliery Championship Wrestling, I became their first ever heavyweight underground champion. I've loved every part. I'm part of the biggest faction going, the best faction, the elite establishment, with myself, obviously, the boss man, Colin McGregor, and then we've got the Diamond Exchange, Tommy Diamond, and obviously Walker of Wall Street, and we have, who came on earlier, Elf herself, Queen of the Elite. We're going strong. We've got the tag team belts. We've got the Carnage Hardcore. But yes, Carnage Championship Wrestling, when I got approached by the board, which Barris hated because he didn't even know about it, they said, we need somebody with more guts, more umph, somebody who's going to take hardcore to a new level with Carnage Championship Wrestling. I signed on the dotted line right there and then. Of course, it's for me. I've got a few people already signed up. Of course, one and only Blizzard. Everybody knows now what we've been through, but I'm not going to go over that. And one popped up earlier, Husey. We've got loads, but the first ever person to sign up with Carnage Championship Wrestling, and I don't know if you've seen her yet, Dame Flaps.
I have. Dave Flaps was on our stream last night on Sportzwire Radio with Hybrid. Yes, I did see that Dave Flaps was, I believe, also on your last stream you did on the CCW Carnage Championship Wrestling group on Facebook, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, she was. She's our first ever signing because I thought, why not jump the boat? Everybody's wanting people sign wrestlers, sign the hardcore. I signed the best ever ring announcer in Dame Flaps, and she can whack a punch as well. So if anybody starts her, she's going to whack them with a bag.
And Anthony Finkel, I think, follows up, and I think he's got the idea. Says kill them all. So apparently, he seems to like a little bit about what you guys are doing. And let me ask you then another question, because you did mention Barris, and obviously Barris is our CEO of Carnage Championship Wrestling. But do you feel more pressure, let's say, as somebody now that's running a company versus, let's say, that when you were just a talent? I mean, give me your thoughts on that.
I've been in this business quite some time. Yes, the pressure is on, but that's the reason why they asked me, because pile the pressure on. I've got big enough shoulders to carry it all. I'm going to take this to new levels, and I don't know if you've noticed this. I think I am the first ever person to do it with Carnage Championship Wrestling. The fans can pay £60 for a super fan card. It gets you all 5 shows because we do one every 2 months.
Okay.
The Christmas show will be a joint one with the Colliery. So they get 6 shows, one of these lovely Carnage Championship Wrestling t-shirts, all for £60.
Well, I'll tell you what, that's a deal. Listen, you can't even go out these days for a dinner or two for £60. I mean, you actually, if you're going to go somewhere to a nice restaurant, £60 is not going to get you a dinner and your date. I mean, so this is a deal that you almost can't go wrong with it. And I have a couple of comments that follow up with it. I'm going to ask you some questions further on it. Of course, our guest last night, Hybrid, who's going to be in the ring this Saturday for the Light in the Dark Championship and Coloring Championship Wrestling against Prince Dagan, says Carnage Wrestling is going to be a game changer. I definitely agree. Lord Damian Stone says it's going to be rude, crude, and out there and hard-hitting entertainment for mature audiences. I can't wait. Why does that feel like a Motley Crue concert for whatever reason? But I think this will be a lot more aggressive and a lot more fun. But let me ask you that when it comes to the deal, because it is kind of a groundbreaking deal. And I've heard, obviously, of subscription companies that do different things. You have Peacock. You have, obviously, WWE and their relationship outside of the rest of the world in the United States with Peacock. Impact Wrestling has an Impact Plus offer. Ring of Honor just announced doing something. There's a company that we do work with called Odyssey Pro Wrestling that has a Patreon page. But this is really something different out of the box. I mean, Talk to me, the gentleman Ronnie Thatcher, on how you were able to come up with something like this that was so revolutionary, I think. I mean, for 60 pounds, you're getting 6 shows, you're getting a shirt, I mean, a super fan card. I mean, you're really giving an immersive experience here. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, basically, like, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you're heel or face, it's the fans you want in the crowd, because that's why we do this. It's all for the fans. And this is my little way of giving back to the fans, because if there's no fans, I'm just kicking somebody's head in for no fun. Like, for nothing, really. And why not give back to the fans? It gets bums in the seats. And I just thought, hang on, there's a big recession going on. It's all around the world. People are struggling. I said, why not do this? Hopefully the fans will enjoy it, the parents anyway, the over 18s. And not only that, I've even, where we do the shows, the pub that we do it in is also giving a discount on beer with them cards.
Well,
So
you know
you're
that's
getting
going to
that as
bring a
well.
lot of people. That's going to
Yeah.
bring a lot of people out there. You definitely know that. And
Oh,
Anthony
yeah.
Finkel says, although he's from New York, he says, I'd easily pay 100 pounds for all that. But yeah, that's definitely a deal here. This is a deal. Like, this is really too good to be true
100%.
in a lot of ways. Don't forget the drinks discount at the venue, too, which, of course, the gentleman, Ronnie Thatcher,
Thanks,
just
Uncle
mentioned.
Ralph.
Let me ask you a question, and I hate to ask this question, but I'm going to ask it because it is a really good deal. I mean, this is a deal. Like I said, you can't even go out for dinner or two these days for 60 pounds. I can tell you,
Yeah.
I go out, and if I go out for myself, I went out to dinner maybe 2 weeks ago before I wasn't sick, and I think I spent, like, let's say the equivalent to about 40 pounds in the UK. So, I mean, are you concerned about profitability? I mean, I know the CCW audience is so devoted and is so loyal and is so massive, but is this
Yeah.
something you guys feel like you could pull off?
Yes, 100%. If I didn't think I could pull it off, I would not have done the deal. And still at £10 a show, they're still getting a deal and everything. But this Super Saver card gives them special privileges, a free T-shirt, the beer, as well as, like, even front row seats. We'll even throw that in. I have got a few people wanting them tickets straight away because they're wanting it, like, as a Christmas present. Some people can get in touch. Oh, can't pay straight away. I'll pay in January. Is that okay? Of course it is.
That's a unique deal. I'll tell you what, I mean, listen, if you don't have the money now, you can pay next month and still get the plan. It almost reminds me of when I was a kid and they used to have, let's say when my parents didn't have enough money to buy, let's say, gifts, they would have the layaway plan. Yeah, you have a layaway plan almost. All right, you could get the gift, but you have to put a down payment on, and then later on you get the rest of the money, you can get that payment. That's kind of a revolutionary idea when it comes to wrestling.
Exactly. Pay 20 quid and then the other 40 before the first show. You don't pay the other 40 before the first show, you don't get in. Plain and simple.
Well, you know what? You still made the 20 pounds, so you know what? That's not a bad idea at all. And Uncle Ralph said it's showing loyalty to the fans. I definitely agree. And I have to almost ask then, so for people to get involved in this, I mean, how can they get involved and sign up for this plan to join the Carnage Championship Wrestling subscription base and support what you're doing?
Well, we have the Carnage Championship Wrestling page. You're part of that page.
Yes, I joined.
You see what I said? If people want to join that, they're more than welcome to. They can message me. One of the admin team will be in touch, or they can message me personally on my Ronnie Thatcher Facebook page. I'm not hard to find. But if they're already a part of the Colliery Championship page and they can't find the Carnage one, which of course they should be able to find it, it's not bloody hard. But if they don't and they want to get in touch with them, somebody from the board will get in touch with me. So there's a lot of ways and you won't miss out.
And I definitely don't think anybody will miss out because one thing I've learned about CCW over the past year on Sportswire Radio is that CCW's fan base is like no other here. CCW has the best fans. They have the most devoted fan base. They support like no other. And I have a very strong feeling that Ronnie Thatcher knows what he's doing because that's why they call him the CEO. Dustin Hart is in the house, of course, of the CWO, and he says, "Good evening" to myself and to you. Also, the aforementioned Dame Flaps is
Hey,
here.
Flaps.
Your first signee. You want to talk about Dame Flaps while Dame is here?
Of course, Dame Flaps. She gives a no poo emoji. There you go. I won't swear. I'll be respectful for you, Reverend Tom.
I appreciate that. We are on the radio, by the way. We are actually on the radio, so I appreciate that.
That's why, because everybody knows I'm the foul mouth, beer swigging.
I have heard many of your streams. I have noticed it. Trust me, I have noticed it.
Yes. So the Dame, yes, she is absolutely fantastic. She isn't scared of nobody. She's not scared of saying what's on her mind. She'll tell you the truth, basically. And who else would you want on board? Why not? So it's a fantastic to have Dame Flaps on board with Carnage Championship Wrestling. And
Dame, of course, has a couple of different comments. Oh, lovely Jubbly, I believe. I'm an angel.
Yeah.
Jubbly. Hybrid says, the Dame's the only one I'm scared of. Rules are made to be broken. That very well could be so. Yeah. No question about that as well. So let me ask you then a question, because obviously we've heard all the details here, but when is actually the first show for Carnage Championship Wrestling? So people might actually, I would imagine, want to buy a standalone ticket, because I'm sure the opportunity, if let's say people don't buy into the plan, could go out and maybe buy a standalone ticket as a test to see what they like about Carnage Championship Wrestling. So when is the first show?
Right. A normal ticket will be £10, and this will be on the 11th of February, right before the passing of my brother, who passed away on Valentine's Day. So it's a year to that. So we've got Saturday the 11th of February, and that will be the first show, and it will be Colliery Carnage.
All right, well, we'll look forward to that, and I have a follow-up question to that in a second, but I do have some comments. Prince Dagan, our Culinary Championship Wrestling Light in the Dark champion, is here. He says Carnage. Also, we have here the man behind NGW Backyard Wrestling here in the state of Pennsylvania. That is Edward Jones from Sports Fishing Videos, says hello. So I thank you for that. Also, Prince says, C for E, rip Mr. Duffy. Let me ask you a question then. That was going to sort of be my question. And obviously, we spoke the first time on the air and we talked about what Carnage meant to you and Sean. And was that timed in a way that you said, you know what, I have to make it that weekend of his passing? I have, because this is just, it means so much. And the symbolism of that, I mean, was that something you wanted to do kind of to honor your friend and so many others here in our locker room of their own friend here in Carnage, Sean himself? Was that something you wanted to do to time the first official show, even though I know Saturday is kind of a joint show, but the first standalone show, February the 11th, is for Carnage Championship Wrestling? And talk to me if that was something that you wanted to do and to time the honor here of Sean by doing it then.
100%. The board, when they got in touch with me, they said, look, we're doing Carnage Championship Wrestling. The over 18s Peace Out show was amazing. You won the title that night. We need you on board. I actually said to them, look, on one occasion, can I have February the 11th? That's the Saturday, obviously. They said, of course, and we know why. They didn't hesitate whatsoever. I said, right, straight away. And like I said, signed on the dotted line. That was my only concerns, is that I could have that date. And they gave me it straight away. The board were fantastic. I got a seat on the board as well with being a CEO, just like James Barris has with Colliery. I have with Carnage now. And yeah, fantastic that they did that for me, and I can't thank them enough, actually.
And we certainly look forward here to the future of Carnage Championship Wrestling. And February the 11th is not that far away. It is actually now less
Oh, no.
than 2 months, and we're talking about a little over 8 weeks. So time definitely flies, and I have no doubt that we'll be talking a lot about that card and all the great matches that'll appear. And we know that Ronnie Thatcher will definitely be a part of that as well. And also, Max Cooper says, Rip Sean. Of course, Max we know very well here on Sportswire Radio. So obviously, it means a lot to those in the locker room and means a lot to the
Yeah,
eventual talent of Carnage Championship Wrestling. And I'm trying to remember now, it's Coloring Championship Wrestling and Carnage Championship Wrestling. So it's
that's
almost
it.
like, are you guys is it like SmackDown and Raw, or is it like Ring of Honor and AEW? My advice would be, please don't make it like where ECW was sort of like the standalone to WWE like years ago, and it was like just a watered down version of ECW. So whatever you can do, please make it where it doesn't do anything but that. But talk to me like, what is this in terms of verse like CCW?
Well, yeah, down the line, if Beres wants to set his lip up as he usually does, we could see Team Colory versus Team Carnage, but really, who would want to go up against Team Carnage in the name? Who would want to do that? But yes, we are like the SmackDown to Raw type thing. We work coincide with each other. I've got a lot of their talent coming over, want to be part of Carnage because they all respected Sean. They all loved him. They want to be part of his legacy that we're continuing. But also, I want to bring in new guys. So if there is anybody listening out there who wants to be part of the UK scene, who is in the UK or whatever, get in touch with me.
Well,
Let's put pen to paper.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to do you even a better favor than that. I'm actually going to put it out there as a standalone clip on Sportswire Radio, in that any wrestler, any company that we do work with on Sportswire, or any wrestler that we have coming on here, and even coming up here this Thursday, we have on stars from Nonstop Action Wrestling, the Lawman Kyle Kennedy and Callum Majakester, both of the Society. We have some of the guys from the LWF on Friday, the Scenario Nathan Gunn and Wildfire Nate Reese. If they're looking for another place, they're looking for another company, listen, Carnage Championship Wrestling is out there, and there could be another place to hone your skills and maybe wrestle top talent out there, because CCW is home to always the biggest stars, not just in the UK, but all over the world. So something tells me here that I could see big things ahead. Also have a few comments. Miss him so much. He would be honored. I definitely agree with on that, even though unfortunately I do not know Sean, but I could see that. Uncle Ralph tells me, quite simply, Carnage CCW or Carnage CW is the hardcore over 18 version. I definitely see that as well. Ronnie Thatcher, Man Max, officially declared as a wrestler for Carnage. That's what he is. Man Max has declared here for Carnage. Is that something you're aware of?
No, I'm not. And until you win a match, Mad Max.
Okay, well, I wanted to run that back.
Yeah, thinking you're the Billy Big Man.
All right, well, I wanted to run that by you first. Okay, so he's not officially in the roster yet. Okay, all right, that's fair.
He needs to get in touch with me first, and the board need to clarify it, because that Mad Max has been with Colliery Championship Wrestling. I don't know if it's from the start or what, but this lad's ruffled a few feathers.
Yes, I've seen from prior streams with us. Yes.
Yes. He's done something like I done to the Undergrounders, but he did it to James's mum.
Well, that would be certainly that would do the trick. Yeah. That would be the That would be the way to do things. Yep.
The board as well, because I can't just straight away snap my fingers and say, this is why people are getting in touch with me, Mad Max. You need to get in touch with me so I can take it to the board, and then we officially do it on Another One Bites the Dust, or when I move on a Wednesday night, is Another One Bites the Dust on the Colliery page. Straight after that, I'll go on to the Carnage Championship Wrestling page, where I do Talking Carnage. That's when it gets released. If there's wrestlers joining, that's when it happens.
So we have one more show that you're going to do tomorrow before Saturday's show, and we'll transition to the match with Nate Sawyer coming up. And we have one more show on the Coloring Championship Wrestling page, and also one more show on the Carnage Championship Wrestling page. And what could we expect, or what might be in store? If there's anything that you might want to discuss tomorrow night as to why people should tune in.
Well, basically, I'm going to say what I'm going to do tonight, Sawyer. And it's not going to be a pretty sight. And that's why my show is uncensored. So obviously, I can't say it on the Rev, Toms, because I respect that man. So what I will say is you tune in. You will find out what I'm capable of doing come this Saturday. And obviously, have we got a new signing for Carnage Championship Wrestling? No, it's not Max Cooper because he's only just put it on me now. But
that really would have spoiled
will be said tomorrow.
Well, that's a good reason why people should tune in, of course, on the Carnage Championship Wrestling page, and the Coloring Championship Wrestling page is on Facebook. And, of course, please support our dear friend, the CEO of Carnage Championship Wrestling. He is also the Carnage Hardcore Champion. His name is the gentleman, Ronnie Thatcher. And if you like what you hear from Carnage Championship Wrestling and Coloring Championship Wrestling, please support their pages on Facebook. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. I may be a bit under the weather, but I'm actually getting a little bit better, and we're certainly here. And if you like what you hear from us on Sportswire Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, you can listen to all of our great content on sportnarium.com/player. You can also follow us on Facebook at Sportswire Radio, and we will have more coverage here upcoming on Sportswire Radio this Thursday starting at 8 o'clock with members of the society. That is Callum Jakester and the Lawman Kyle Kennedy. So they will be at Nonstop Action Wrestling's Nuclear Winter this Saturday. So it's a busy weekend ahead. This is the last weekend of the year pretty much for pro wrestling in the UK because you've got CCW's sold out show, the Coloring Christmas Carol. You've also got Nonstop Action Wrestling. You've got the LWF's Fight Man before Christmas. So a lot of great shows ahead. Please support all of them, but especially CCW and the joint show between Carnage Championship Wrestling and Coloring Championship Wrestling, which is sold out once again. Max Cooper says, I will speak soon. Then Mr. Thatcher, stay tuned for you. Prince Dagan says, rest in peace, Nate Sawyer, December the 17th. So let's talk about this thing, because I heard you speak about it for a few minutes last week on the air. And talk to me about Nate Sawyer and how do we get to this point here between you and Nate Sawyer coming up this Saturday at the Coloring Christmas Carol for your championship?
Now, some ways, means, reasons, I have not got a clue how he's done it. He brainwaved my daughter, Misha Thatcher.
Okay.
She's declared she's not my daughter no more. She doesn't want now to do with me. She actually helped him in our last match, and it wasn't for the title. She now goes by the name Rosie. It breaks my heart because it's nearly Christmas time. Once again, last year, she went to the Undergrounders, helped them get my title. She helped Dustin win the title. And now it looks like she wants to help Nate Sawyer take this from me now. But will I let that happen? No, over my dead body. Because I've seen what she can do now. I'll keep an eye out, but I know what Nate Sawyer's capable of. Heck, he gave me a concussion the last time we met. He tied me up to a post and he leveled me. Plain and simply, he won that match.
Well, that's certainly got to hurt, getting a concussion. I mean, we see it all the time from wrestlers, and they're out for a while. So, I mean, you got to have payback on your mind after what he did to you, no?
100%. I've got payback on my mind. I've got to somehow, well, I don't think it's going to happen, get my daughter back. It breaks my heart saying that. Yeah.
It's got to really,
Christmas time again.
It's really got to really tear you up inside. I know you're never going to show it because you are the gentleman and you are certainly a very, very tough man. You are a strong man. You've been through a lot to begin with. But to have this literally just days before Christmas, I mean, this is really it's got to break up your family. I mean, I can't imagine what you're going through here.
My wife blames me. She's blamed me for as soon as she left. She said, "You did it last year. You let her go to the undergrounders. Now you've let her go with this sick psychopath that wears a fake mask or whatever, like a face, whatever it is." And yeah, she still hasn't spoke to me for months.
Oh,
yeah, and yeah, it breaks my heart. And yeah, I've got to go down the old route of, and I know you've been saying the gentleman tonight, it's the gentleman thug. I'll let you off and all that, because a lot of people do just go the gentleman. Now, never forget the thug part, because this Saturday, the thug in me, and not just the thug, the father in me is coming out, and I'm not playing. This is on the line. This means the world to me. But most importantly, I've got to get my daughter back somehow. I don't know how, but I will die trying.
let me ask you a question. And I feel like I'm going to know the answer because I could see here in the last few minutes, this turned into an emotional interview with you. Before, we were in some ways having fun. We were explaining Carter's Championship Wrestling. We were talking about different things, and we were having almost a conversation that was kind of a normal conversation in some ways. But this turned emotional. This turned personal. I feel like in addition to losing your daughter, you've lost your wife because you've told me your wife hasn't spoke to you in months. So I have to feel like that you have extra incentive coming up here this Saturday. You have extra motivation. I mean, this match now is turned emotional, no?
100%, without a shadow of a doubt. I've let this family down, my real family. I'm not saying that the elite aren't my family, because they are, but I somehow feel like I've let them down, because obviously not only did Misha leave me, she left the elite. And my wife hasn't even spoken to them lot. My wife gets on with Mr. McGregor a lot, and she hasn't even spoke to him because she doesn't want now to do with me at the moment. And that's how I need to do something. I need to bring something totally different this Saturday.
Well, don't tell us what you're going to bring. Don't tell us exactly what you're going to do here. But I have a feeling that Nate Sawyer is going to find out here regardless. I mean, and talk to me about the elite. Talk to me about the success that you guys have had, because obviously I've seen what you guys have done to the working class militia here as an example. And I mean, talk about since we last were on the air with you, just the success that you guys have had, even in other companies. I mean, I've obviously seen Walker and Tommy Diamond in places like GT Ministries since we last spoke, and you guys have really expanded here. I mean, you guys have really gotten the job done in holding gold here as one of the premier factions in CCW and maybe even in your company as well.
Oh, 100%. At the end of the day, me and Tommy at one point didn't see eye to eye. Tommy wanted to be the right-hand man for Colin. I am the right-hand man. So, yes, me and him at one point did fight. But that's how I settle my differences, and so does Tommy. Yes, we're a family. We're a family that fight. But straight after it, we hugged. We sorted it out. Now look at them. That man, he had the lamp at one point. He could have been greedy. He could have came for this. He could have went for the CCW Underground Heavyweight. He could have went for the light in the dark, but he didn't. He seen an opportunity, as Mr. McGregor would say, and he cashed it in for the tag team belts. So not only did he earn a belt for himself, he earned one for his tag team partner, our other brother of the elite, Walker of Wall Street. And that's what we do. We help each other. And then
Go ahead, jump in.
no, go for it. Go on.
I was gonna say I found that so fascinating in the fact that Tommy did something so different in the fact that
Yeah,
usually when you get a lamp or you get a briefcase, whatever it is, you think about yourself and you go for the gold of an individual title. But he actually did something for the overall greater good of the group. I mean, this is really a first, and I think it really
yeah,
shows the strength and unity that you guys have had. I mean, talk to me more about that because I just find that so fascinating.
yeah. As a group, obviously, once upon a time, there was another guy, Bruce Major. I'll say his name, Bruce Major, with Colin McGregor, Sean Duffy, and obviously, what's his bloody name? Oh, doesn't matter. He's went to the Chackle crew anyway. Baldwin. His name was Baldwin, and that's a sore subject with Baldwin because I seen him as a brother. I tried my best. When obviously Baldwin left, Bruce Major left, there was only Colin and Sean left. Now Colin did do a recruitment drive, as we call it.
Mm-hmm.
He was doing interviews and all that, and even like the likes of Logan Black, Christopher Walker, some of these idiots I don't even know who they are. Right, signed up. I came in, obviously got the job. I promised one thing. I said I'm going to bring gold to the elite. First ever CCW Underground Champion. Did it. Then, lo and behold, Baldwin came back. Once elite, always elite. Now, he came with a cloak, mystery man for a bit. Then showed his true colours, showed it brilliant. Then we recruited Tommy and back then Gemma Stone, who at one point was our women's champion.
Mm-hmm.
Then Tommy obviously seen something in young Walker. He then snapped him up, didn't say nothing to me. I don't know if he said anything to Mr. McGregor, but that's fine. He took him under his wing. That was his problem. You do that. So then we brought them on, and Walker at one point had, well, he still does. He has this little sidekick, Mr. OK, who's making everybody wait for it still and all that. Yeah. That's what he does. He says, wait for it, Mr. OK. And you're not allowed to say his words, by the way, so he's probably going to want to shout at me after this for saying his words, as if I'm bothered. And lo and behold, the elite, yes, Gemma Stone, she ended up leaving. I think she started doing some movies, this, that, and the other. And so she left, which left CCW without a women's champion. So that does happen, but we have got a tight-knit group, like I said earlier. And Bonkers ended up going bonkers because Tommy and Walker hated him that much, so he left and joined the Chackle crew and that. So good riddance anyway. He wasn't doing his part. He was useless. But we now have like Mr. McGregor, the boss, absolutely fantastic man, who is now at the moment doing Wise Words with the Wise One on a morning, 7 o'clock in the morning. Fantastic for him. Nobody has listened to this. Go through the Colliery Championship page and watch them.
I get the notifications every morning. I'm like, Colin McGregor is already out there. He's already out there. Every morning he does something. It's unbelievable. Exactly. And definitely, please, if you have a chance and you haven't got a chance, even if you're not up at 7 o'clock or you're on the way to work or whatever it might be, please go out and listen to Cullen Streams because he always does a
Yeah,
great job. He's been with us here in the
fantastic.
past on Sportswire Radio, and definitely want to support him. Also remind you to be nice. He also says nice to shirt Ronnie Thatcher. Casey Jack Bradley,
Yeah,
a young trainee in some other companies, is tuned in once again. He says, Ronnie, no matter what keeps you down, you keep fighting, have a purpose and a reason to fight. Fight for yourself and the people who have stood with you. All right, let me ask you a question.
good
And
one.
yeah, it's a good one. It is a good one. Let me ask you this question, and I'm curious about your thoughts on this. And what does it mean to you to have been the first CCW Underground Heavyweight Champion and now the first Carnage Championship Wrestling Hardcore Champion? I mean, talk to me about being a world champion for a first and two, I guess you could say, separate companies. I mean, that's a pretty neat feat there. I mean, what does that mean to you?
It means the world to me. I've kept my promise to Mr. McGregor. I said I was going to bring gold to the elite. I have. And what people don't realise, yes, this was the hardcore championship for Colliery, but this will be the main belt for Carnage Championship Wrestling, just so everybody knows. So, yes, first ever heavyweight champion for Carnage Championship Wrestling, just so you don't get that wrong. But, yes, first ever hardcore champion after I'll say three. It was 2.5 because one of my fights was actually against DB Riley. And
yes, we know him.
yeah, Slugger actually distracted him. As soon as he turned around, he met Big Ben because it was a hardcore match. Plain and simple. But don't get me wrong, if I didn't get in there first, I would have had a really big fight in my hand because DB is a fighter.
Yes, we've had him on here. He can fight.
Yes.
We know that. We know.
Yeah, he's got the kickboxing background. I've got the boxing background. So we know how to lay hands. And I was like, now, I want this championship more than anything. The bell had rung. It's not my fault his partner had distracted him. I took my opportunity and done it. There you go.
Hey, listen, all is fair in love and war, and Colin also wants to remind me that wise words from the wise one every morning, 7 o'clock on the Colliery Championship Wrestling Facebook page. I always get the notifications on my phone. Sometimes I'm up, sometimes I'm not. The last week, I haven't really been that up because I've just been like so out of it, but normally I get the notifications and I try to at least watch them when I'm done with a couple of different things. So please, everybody else, do the same. If you haven't, or if you continue to, you can go to the Colliery Championship Wrestling Facebook page. And
Yeah.
I mean, so let me ask you then this question when it comes to Nate Sawyer. And I know that this is the last match you're going to have here in 22 and going into 23. I would have to think, because I've been asking this question to wrestlers throughout the last month, because obviously now you're literally going to be in the last match for shows in 22. How big of this is a springboard for you to not only beat Nate Sawyer, but to make an example of him to go into 23, especially from your standpoint, because not only would you be going into this retaining your championship, but also your first show is coming up from your company on February the 11th. So how big of this match is coming up to lead into 23 for you?
Well, interesting question, actually. You think about it. Nate Sawyer has done everything to me humanly possible to put me down. We've had fights. We've had ultimate fights. He even joined in the triple threat match with Husey, but I'll go over that. He's took my daughter. My wife's not talking to me. He's practically took my family. He's wanting to take my belt. And not only that, if he's got the chance, he will take me out for good. So that means if he takes me out for good, there won't be no Carnage Championship Wrestling because they haven't got nobody else to run it. So this only means one thing for me. You talk about fight or flight. There's no such thing as flight for me. It's fight, fight, fight. Every single time I step in that ring, it's a fight. I even said it last night to Hybrid. Don't underestimate your opponent, no matter who they are. Never underestimate them. Now, Nate, I've never underestimated you 1 minute, But trust me, you've underestimated me. Yes, you got one up on me and tied me up. Give me a concussion. So what? Do you know what? I've had concussions throughout my life, throughout my fighting career. And do you know what? I always come up standing and ready for another fight. So you bring everything you've got. And I mean everything, because what else? What else? What you want to take this in my job? I ain't going to let it happen. I've got everything now. I've got everything that you want, and I'm not going to let you take it one bit.
Well, I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, I have a feeling that we are going to see a fight coming up this Saturday at the Colory Championship Wrestling, last show of the year, the Colory Christmas Carol, where it will be for that Carnage Hardcore Championship, the company's world title. That is our champion, our reigning, defending CCW Carnage Hardcore Champion. His name is the Gentleman Thug, Ronnie Thatcher, as he gets ready to defend his championship. And his company also will have their first ever official standalone show, February the 11th. And also, it's been revealed here that they will have a special package. 60 pounds get you all 6 shows, also get you into where you get a shirt. You get to have a super fan card you get to be a part of. So a lot of great stuff here that Ronnie Thatcher is working on. So please support him by joining the Carnage Championship Wrestling group on Facebook. Also, Colory Championship Wrestling on Facebook. We got about 15 or so minutes with the CEO, Ronnie Thatcher. And got a couple more comments we have here from Uncle Ralph. Although my focus is on the debut of my tag team monsters on the 17th of Saturday, I am intrigued by Ronnie versus Nate, a bout that is a must to see. A lot of great matches. We covered BMD and James Barris last week. We covered Prince Dagan and Hybrid yesterday. We've also now covered Nate Sawyer versus Ronnie Thatcher. I mean, this is just a deep card. It's always a deep card. Of course, the Elite are going to be in action. They're going to be a part of a huge tag team match ahead as well. I mean, a lot of great stuff that's ahead with CCW. So just go out there. I know if you haven't had a ticket, just find a way to watch, whether it's from like get a ladder and see it through the windows, or just find a way, because it's already sold out, and every show that CCW does is sold out here. And also, Hybrid says $60 to see some amazing talent. I'll even go further. $60 to see some of the best talent. For 60 pounds gets you the opportunity to see some of the best talent in all of professional wrestling. And let me ask you then this question, the Gentleman Thug, Ronnie Thatcher. What are your goals for 23?
One, put on the best shows that I do. Every time I step in that ring, blow the roof off every single time. Not only that, going into Carnage Championship Wrestling, show everyone, and I mean everyone, the difference that we will make on over 18 shows. The difference that we will do is going to blow your minds away. Some matches that have never been done before. And I may have. Do you know what? Since you've been nice, Rev Tom, should I say one match that I think?
It's up to you. It's your call here. I mean, if you think if something you want to do, I mean, you're the CEO. You're the Gentleman Thug. I mean, if you have something to say, I mean, this is the place. We are live. You know that.
Yeah. Well, at one point in Carnage Championship Wrestling, now I'm not going to name which wrestlers are going to be part of this match.
Okay.
We don't know which show it'll be on, but it's just came to me, this great match, a Pringles Pranksters match. Yes, you heard it, Pringles, the crisp tub.
Wow, Pringles Prankster match? I mean, this is, revolutionary. This is groundbreaking. I mean, this to me is never been done before. I mean, this is just a game-changing match that we're going to see here on February the 11th.
I know you're thinking, what could it be? I know a few people will be thinking, what the hell's that? Pringles, not going to hurt. A few crisps. No. You open a tub of Pringles. It might not even have crisps in. May have thumbtacks in.
Oof. That's going to hurt.
It may even have another one. It'll have Lego in. Another one may even say, pick a weapon of your choice from under the ring. But these Pringles boxes aren't just going to be to the side of the ring. They may be scattered around the room. Something different there, never been done before. And it's a first for Carnage Championship Wrestling.
Wow. I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, this is just, I don't know if I'd want to be one of these participants in this match or what, because you might be coming away with some scars and some bruises and much more that you may never recover from. I mean, they used to say ECW is hardcore, but I think Carter's Championship Wrestling is hardcore and some, because this Pringles Pranksters match coming up on February the 11th at the company's first ever show is going to be groundbreaking. It's going to be revolutionary, and that's why you need to get in on the fun. 60 pounds is going to get you into the show. It's going to get you into not only that show, but 5 other great shows, including the Coloring Christmas Carol coming up this Saturday, which is a joint show, and also you can be a part of the super fan card and much more. And Hybrid says, this is why you're the boss. Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, you are definitely one of those bosses that I think is really thinking ahead of the curve, and I think that's why we're very confident of what this is going to do here on February the 11th, and I'm also very excited to be covering the show on Sportswire Radio, as we will have wall-to-wall coverage for it. We'll announce it here, so any talent that wants to come on before the 11th of February, they will definitely have a welcome invitation to come on anytime to Sportswire Radio, so floor will always be here for anybody else. And again, the Carnage Hardcore Champion, the CEO, the Gentleman Thug, Ronnie Thatcher, who definitely has blown our minds here with something that we did not expect here for one bit. So I want to ask you this question here before we get to closing thoughts, and give me your final words to Nate Sawyer before this Saturday at the Coloring Christmas Carol.
Obviously, I have a certain few words, but I'll keep them for my uncensored show because I can't say it on the radio right now. But Nate, yes, last week people thought I was scared, I was worried when you came on, because I just put this on the line and I said, anybody with the cojones big enough, and you stepped up. Good for you. Good for you for being a man for once. But don't stand behind my daughter no more. Don't stand behind the one that calls herself Rosie instead of Misha Thatcher. You bring it. And I mean, bring anything and everything you have. Yes, I know you are going to be peed off because of Hughesy doing what he done to you. Maybe that's what scared me and shocked me at first, because you're more angry. But now, no, I'm not scared no more. Was I really scared or was I shocked? Because I will tell you now, I'm bringing anything and everything, and death's coming with me to follow.
Ladies and gentlemen, very strong words, but I have a feeling it's going to be even stronger in the ring between Nate Sawyer and the Gentleman Thug, Ronnie Thatcher, the CEO of Carnage Championship Wrestling. And Walker Wall Street is tuned in. He says, sorry, I'm late, boss. So Walker is with us. And Walker, if you missed it, no problem at all. Obviously, we spoke a little bit about you when it came to the rest of the card. And also have here, Nate is something in the past, finished him once for all, and then move on. So he's basically imploring you to what you've been talking about all night, which is basically finishing him once and for all, and then we move on to February the 11th, where obviously we see the first ever standalone show. So let me ask you then this last question before I get to closing thoughts here. And how do you feel 2022 overall has went for you personally? Everything you've went through, whether it's with the Elite, whether it's with Carnage Championship Wrestling now, whether it's putting together the company, being a champion yet again. I mean, how do you feel the year 2022 has went for you overall?
2022 had its downs and its ups. I came into 2022 without a title. Got beat last Christmas show by Dustin. My daughter helped him, like I said earlier. 2022, thought nothing could get any worse than that. My brother passes away February 14th. But then the elite, we start building. We start getting our stuff together as a family does. Even in Colliery Championship Wrestling, we got our stuff together after our brother had passed away, because he's not just the elite's brother, he was everyone's brother.
He meant a lot to that locker room, to the locker
He
room
did.
you guys shared. He meant a lot. He was different.
Oh, he was phenomenal. And that's why he was my brother from another mother. We had plans changed. But then onwards and upwards came for the elite. Yeah, we had our little bickerings. It happens in families. But we had two guys go and win the tag belts. We had the first ever Peace Out tournament for this. And obviously, I'm the one who won it. And then the board come and give me Carnage Championship Wrestling. So yes, we had our downs, we've got our ups. But that's why it's amazing having Colin on our side. When you are down, he does give you them wise words. I'm not going to lie, I've suffered deeply with depression. When Sean had passed, I thought, that's it. But I couldn't quit. I could not quit. And yes, we had our ups and downs when Poo Emoji hit the fan. We all know when, but we're not going to bring it up. That's it. But look, when you go so low, there's only one way to go, and that's up. When you're feeling down, there is somebody to talk to. There's always somebody there. But always remember, you in yourself can pick yourself up and believe in yourself. I believed in myself and I become the first ever Carnage Hardcore Champion. And now I'm a CEO. So yes, it was a bad 2022 and now it's a good 2022. Bring on 2023. The world is our oyster.
Absolutely, and that's why I have a feeling that 2022 is going to end on a great note for Ronnie Thatcher
yes.
as he gets ready to square off with Nate Sawyer for his Carnage Hardcore Championship. Of course, he is the company's first ever world champion, also the first ever CCW Underground Heavyweight Champion. So he is a footnote in history, and they always remember those who were the first in pro wrestling. They always remember the first. It's always the first and last. So you are always going to be remembered in CCW history and Colory Championship Wrestling and Carnage Championship Wrestling. So I would much rather be the first or the last when it comes to anything. Yeah. So you have definitely done that. You've got the most shiniest prize in all of professional wrestling. Look at that belt for those that are watching and listening to this here on Sportzwire Radio. That is the belt that everybody desires to have. Roman Reigns desires to have it. Listen, MJF desires to have it. Jacob Fatu desires to have it. Josh Alexander. You name a champion, they desire to have it. Braun Breaker. You name a champion. RPD. Yes. Disciple. They all wish right now that they could have that championship. And Ronnie Thatcher is the man right now. He is the man of Carnage Championship Wrestling. That's why we are so excited about Saturday's show. And, of course, the news February 11th, the first show in the company's history, the beginning of a fruitful venture, a 6-match, 6-show card that you will see 6 cards you're going to get between this one starting up this Saturday and later next year for only £60 plus a free Carnage Championship Wrestling shirt. You can go to the Carnage Championship Wrestling group on Facebook to get more details. And My friend, I want to give you the floor now. I want to give you
Yes.
some closing thoughts and anything else you want to plug, share, say. And looking forward to tomorrow's stream. I'm sure you'll have a lot to say on both pages. And anything else you want to share, the floor is yours, my friend, and fire away.
Thank you very much, Rev Tom, and it's been a pleasure to be on Sportswire Radio again. Thanks to everyone tuning in. 2022, Holiday, Christmas, number 2. Let's blow this show apart. And I mean it. Nate, I'm done. I'll say some more tomorrow on my show because I am going to go uncensored. Right? Come 2023, this is the place to be, where there will be blood, mayhem, and carnage, you see. Because Carnage Championship Wrestling is 110% the place you want to see and be. Don't miss out on that ticket. If you miss out, you're going to be kicking yourself. Hell, I'll do the kicking for you. No problem.
I wouldn't want to be the person that's getting kicked by you. I'll tell you that much. Knowing the way that you fight, knowing the way that you can punch, and seeing what you've done out there, I would certainly want to take the advice of the gentleman thug, Ronnie Thatcher, and find your way to support CCW, especially Carnage Championship Wrestling. And he certainly is also giving you a great tease, which is that tease is to make sure to tune into his own show on the Colory Championship Wrestling and then Carnage Championship Wrestling groups on Facebook, where he'll have a lot more to say, a lot more uncensored talk. Unfortunately, because we have a radio stream on Sportswire, we can't have the profanity, but he can say whatever he wants on his page, and that's why we love Ronnie Thatcher. And of course, Ronnie is also a big trivia question in wrestling history because he's the first underground champion in CCW history, Colory Championship Wrestling, and then in Carnage Championship Wrestling, he is their first Carnage Hardcore champion. So he is a man of many firsts, and I have no doubt that February the 1st is going to be the first of many, many successful events. And good luck out there, my friend. Go get him. Congratulations also to the Elite and all the success that you guys have had of late. And I'm looking forward to many more segments with you in 23 and more coverage of the first show on the 11th of February. And Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and everything else. And to all the CCW fans out there, I thank you for your support this past year. And I look forward to maybe more CCW coverage here between now and 12/31, and of course, much more in 23. So thank you, my friend, and good luck out there this Saturday.
Thank you very much, and it's been a pleasure yet again to be on the show. And yes, Merry Christmas and have a Happy New Year. And I hope you have a great one.
All right, and ladies and gentlemen, that was the gentleman thug, Ronnie Thatcher, who will be in action this coming Saturday for Colory Championship Wrestling's Christmas Carol. It's a joint show with Carnage Championship Wrestling, the company's first official show. He'll be defending his Carnage Hardcore Championship against Nate Sawyer, and we will have more coverage on Sportswire Radio here coming up this Thursday with the Society's The Lawman, Kyle Kennedy, and Callum Jakester. That'll start at 8 o'clock as they'll get ready for their own show coming up on December the 17th, this Saturday, for Nonstop Action Wrestling's Nuclear Winter, where both of them will be playing huge roles in those shows. So if you are on sportnarium.com/player at some point this afternoon, you'll go into your regularly scheduled programming. But if you are on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, and the CCW pages, I thank you for tuning in. And we will be back here also coming up here this Thursday afternoon and evening, and then Friday we'll be in there with the LWF guys for their own show also this Saturday. So a busy time in the UK. We're giving everybody a shot to promote their shows and their cards, and we want to support everybody, Ronnie Thatcher especially. So thank you. Here we're on the number one global radio station. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. Alongside me was Ronnie Thatcher, and we'll be back here soon. Thank you, everyone. Good night.